You're listening to the Roofing Success Podcast, a show created to inspire roofing contractors to achieve optimal success in their roofing businesses. I'm the host, Jim Moline, the co-author of the book, Internet Marketing for Roofing Contractors, How to Triple Your Sales and Turn Your Roofing Website into an Online Lead Generation Machine. I'm also the co-founder of Roofer Marketers, the digital marketing agency for the roofing industry. On each episode, I'll be sitting down with industry leaders to talk about their processes, the lessons they've learned, and how to find success in roofing. Hey, welcome to another episode of the Roofing Success Podcast. Before we get going today, make sure that you like, subscribe, comment. It helps us out. It really motivates us to create more content for you and get you the right people in front of you. As you know, my direct line is in the description. Text message me of guests that you want on. The guest that we have on has actually been requested multiple times, so we're really excited today. She specializes in increasing profits through systematizing sales processes, hiring processes, and supplementing insurance claims. And today we're going to talk about scaling your roofing business. She's the founder of Roof Sales Mastery, the one and only Becca Switzer. And Becca, based on the request from our listeners to have you on, I feel like that our audience knows you pretty well. But for those of you that don't, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about how you got to where you are?
Sounds good. Well, thank you very much, Jim. And I actually got into storm restoration when I was 21, just about to turn 22 years old, after I actually dropped out of college to sell Cutco cutlery. So I was doing direct sales for a couple years. And I'm like, oh, I'm really good at this. And so I ended up, long story short, my former husband and I got recruited into storm restoration, and we storm chased for a couple years and then had started our own company in St. Louis, Missouri. And just throughout that process, we're like, wow, this is a super lucrative industry. You can make so much money and really enjoy a lot of personal financial freedom. But it's like the wild, wild west. Like there was no formal training. It was like, hey, you can make a ton of money, but you have to kind of figure it out on your own. And I was like, what? Yeah. There's a lot to learn here. So throughout that process, I had to it was either sink or swim, and I wasn't going to sink. So figured some stuff out and then realized, like, wow, people could really, really benefit from this. And it's such an incredible opportunity in this industry. It's a shame that people don't have better resources to make that dream a reality for themselves. So I wrote my book, and then I created my 6 different online programs and trainings, and launched Roof Sales Mastery in 2014. And it just caught like wildfire, and here we are today. So
yeah, definitely. And it's because of that need that, right? There was a big gap in that, definitely back in 2014, where you are just out there on your own, and there wasn't, I don't want to say there wasn't a lot of business ownership in the roofing business, right? There are good roofing business owners, right? Yeah. But a lot of, we get into like, if you've read the book, The E-Myth, where, it's like people start businesses when they're good at something, a trade, right? So if they're, good at roofing, they'll open a roofing business. And so there's so many other components that go into that, which I think, comes around to the conversation that we're planning on having about scaling a roofing business. And really, business ownership is different than just being a roofer, right? Being a roofing contractor. And so we were having a conversation about, scaling roofing businesses and what it takes to scale. So what do you see as some of the most important ways or things that people need to look at in terms of when they should be scaling their business or how to scale their business?
Well, I think that most companies typically, generally speaking, start when somebody, got recruited to this crazy roof sales thing by some other dude in a Ford F-250 that was like, hey, come with me. I'll teach you how to make 6 figures, in less than a year. And they get on board, and then they're like, oh, wow, you can make a lot of money. And, there's a huge revolving door and high turnover rate in this industry. But the people that do stick and make it work, like they really make it work. They make a ton of money. And then they think to themselves like, I should just go off and do my own thing, right? And then so they take their unique little set of skills and then they start their own company. But there's a big difference between being good at selling roofs and being good at running a successful business and actually scaling it to size, whether that's, you have a goal of doing 3 million or 5 million or 10 million or 25 million. And so where the breakdown begins is the person was great at doing the job and they think all these moving pieces are easy, and they go, well, all I have to do is hire people on and just show them what I do. And then if I have a bunch of me's running around, we'll do great. I'm selling $1 million a year. If I get 5-10 guys, we'll do 5 to 10 million. Everything will be cush. But I think what people realize is when they actually begin their operation, there's a lot more going on here. We've got production, we have administrative stuff, supplementing, invoicing. We're dealing with mortgage companies, insurance adjusters, right? Crews. And now we have to hire and train salespeople, and we're doing advertising. There's just a million pieces to the puzzle. And so, the first thing, and this is the easiest way for people to wrap their mind around it, and I'm sure that people who listen to my YouTube channel have heard me say stuff like this before, but the easiest thing for me to do was to look at existing businesses that are already duplicating themselves in a huge way. Like I always use McDonald's because that's the easiest one. Yep. McDonald's is a massive franchise, probably one of the most successful franchises on planet Earth. They have, I think, 38,000 locations. They do billions of dollars a year. And I always crack the joke. I say, it doesn't matter if you go to McDonald's in Singapore or you go to McDonald's in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, you're going to be in McDonald's. You're like, I'm in McDonald's. Like the experience is going to be the same. The food's going to be the same, stuff like that. And so looking to those companies who have successfully achieved duplicating themselves on a massive scale is the first place that you can go, okay, what are they doing that I need to do? And I could talk about this forever, but we were talking about the other day when we spoke before, the idea of corporate America. And this is an industry that is like resisting corporate America, like that's entrepreneurs and blue collar people that just want to start their own thing. And we love that. And that's part of the reason that it's such an attractive opportunity is it's not corporate America, buttoned up, stuffy, climb the corporate ladder type of a thing. So I'm not totally shitting on the idea of corporate America, because corporate America has the reason that those businesses are so big is because they do have these rigid, repeatable systems and structures for everything. And that's why they can just duplicate and build to this massive scale. So if we take the pieces we like out of the corporate America structure and we plug that into the storm restoration roofing company model, now we have a little bit of traction. We can start to scale people's businesses.
Definitely. Tell me a story of a company that maybe you've worked with that started off, unorganized, trying to get through this and has implemented some of the right things that has led to being able to scale.
So one thing that immediately comes to mind, and it's hard for me to know everyone's personal stories because at this point there's like 1,500 contractors using my stuff. So it's like, yeah. I know some of them more personally because they interact with me more, but a lot of people just buy the program and then leave their Facebook review and they're like, this is what happened. But specifically, one big result that pops out to me, there's a guy named J.R. Garcia. I want to say he's in Chicago area, somewhere like that. But he had messaged me one day and he's like, Becca, I have to send you a huge thanks. Like I started with 6 people in my organization, and it was like 9 months or something like that, they scaled up to 36 people just implementing my systems for recruiting and training and stuff like that. And that's massive. Like most contractors, when I talk to them, are struggling to get 1 or 2 new salespeople, right? Yeah. So those are great examples. I mean, the supplementing, gosh, there's so many. Kaylee, I think her last name is Miller. Kaylee Miller is somebody you can go to the Roof Sales Mastery Facebook page and just look at testimonials and find hers. But they added like $400,000 in profit just in supplements last year from, I think it was between like April and November or something like that, or March and November. And that was just, again, finally having a system to follow. So it's not just slap a name tag on this person and be like, hey, you're the supplementer, go figure it out. Like that just doesn't work. Right.
Definitely.
So yeah.
There's the guy with the show on CNBC, Marcus Lemonis, where he invests in other companies' businesses, and he's always looking at the people, the process, and the product. And if you get those three things right, he's like, that's the golden ticket there, right? If you have a great product to sell, and you have a great process, and you have the right people to execute it, that's what really makes the difference. And
Right.
and I think that's, that's something that a lot of people can focus on. So starting with maybe let's talk a little bit about the people, because I know, one of the things that you help roofing contractors do is on the recruiting side and finding the right people.
Right.
What do you think makes a successful hire?
So I'm actually going to flip this a little bit, because a lot of the time I try to resist people saying finding the right people.
Yep.
Because what you're doing when you're doing that is you're just hoping you find this diamond in the rough and they're going to solve all their problems, right? And so people are constantly like searching for the right motivated salesman. And when they come to me, they complain like, Becca, there's people just don't want to knock doors. They're lazy. They're unaccountable. They don't want to do sales, blah, blah. And I'm like, really? Because there's a company over here doing $20 million. Like, who are they doing that with? Did they just happen to get all of the people who are willing to do sales that are the right people? So what I've really shifted into is teaching people more about developing people. So we want to get out of the process of trying to find people who are just magically able to do the job, shifting into people who are just willing to do it, and then equipping them with proper training and development. Because, and I say this all the time, and I mean it, roof sales, especially when it comes to salesmen, okay, it's not rocket science. Like, this is not hard sales. We are selling a virtually free product for 95% off. The insurance company covers it. There's already a need. Like, it's a done deal. It's so easy. But if you're relying on just finding the right people who can met, like the people like me that just, I didn't give myself another option. It was like, I moved to Connecticut. I guess I better figure out how to do this. I sold all my shit. I don't have a place to live. I have to figure out how to sell roofs. That was the right person if you look at it that way. But I was also somebody who was just teachable and was willing to do it. Like, give me the ball, coach, I'll figure it out. So instead of finding people who are just magically able to, we really need to shift into, if you give them the proper training, they can do the job. And that is so freeing, because you're no longer relying on luck. You're taking control of the development of your team. Yeah. And actually, I wanted to say something I was thinking about a second ago. I think you said product, process, and people, right?
Yeah,
the right
people, process, and product, yeah.
So I think that in the roofing industry, what's happening is people get product. Product, that's easy. People, most of them are putting on good roofs. Like, the crews aren't really the issue 90% of the time. The product isn't the issue 90% of the time. That part's figured out. They're failing on process, and they're relying too much on the people to figure out the process. They're relying on finding the right people to magically make those processes. So there's a disconnect happening here.
That's interesting. And that made me think of, I'm in a mastermind group of digital marketing agency owners. And one of the things that we were talking about in one of our last times we got together was, is it, if you have someone on your team that's just not getting it, just not figuring it out, the first thing to look at is, did you put enough effort into training that person, right? That instead of kind of throwing that person out, first look inside, right? Look at yourself and say, did we really do our job in making sure that they were trained in a way that got the end result that we wanted? So that's a big thing, the lack of training, for sure. And that really comes down to systematizing and scaling, right? Like, is having those training processes, and talking about companies like McDonald's. And I mean, if 15-year-olds can run McDonald's, right? Like, exactly. 15-year-olds' brains are not like ready. They are definitely not fully developed, right? Like,
right. They don't give a shit about their job. Like, and that's the beauty of it, because that's why it's so amazing. McDonald's is so successful, and those are the people that are in place.
Yeah.
So that should be extremely inspiring to people in our industry who are like hiring even better quality people. It's like, with the systems in place, that's how you start to really see a dramatic difference.
Definitely. And and a lot of times it isn't, you are kind of really searching if you're trying to find the person that will solve all of your problems. Right. That's another good point.
And even if you find, what if they quit? What if they move to Alaska? What if they decide to go down, they retire and go to Costa Rica, or their wife gets a job on the East Coast and she moves? then what? That's
right.
why you can't just rely on these individuals to be your saving grace.
Yeah, you have to rely on your individual processes and your ability to train that next person, for sure. That's that. And do you really want a bunch of me's? Right? You had mentioned that earlier. You're like, you know, when company owners start their businesses, a lot of times they're like, I want a bunch of me's. If I could just replicate myself. To me, I found I thought like that a little bit too when I was early on in business. And now I'm like, I want the exact opposite of me in a lot of ways, right? Like I always think of the things that I procrastinate on is the person I need to hire, right? I need to hire for whatever I procrastinate, that's the next hire. Like,
right.
So
I think when people say that too, it's like the me's, what they're really saying is like, oh, I'm driven and I'm motivated and I just figure stuff out and I have tenacity, right? And so they want those qualities as well. But the other thing is sometimes that isn't even, again, I would encourage people to look more toward finding people who have coachability. Because those are the people that you can really mold into. If you get a bunch of firecrackers just like you're probably going to find a bunch of firecrackers that are going to up and leave and start their own thing too.
Right.
So like, you know, and I know attrition is something people worry about, and I always encourage people not to worry so much. Like if somebody's going to leave and do their own thing, that's what they're going to do. God bless them. It's capitalist America. Let them do it, you know. But yeah, in terms of, I'm just trying to find people who are like me. Well, maybe you are, maybe you're not. Like it really depends on the role that you're trying to fill. If you don't have any systems and processes, yeah, you're looking for the freaks of nature who can just step in and figure it out. But that's, again, not duplicatable.
It's not duplicatable for sure. When in hiring people that are coachable, what do you think you'd look for in that regard? What kind of questions would you ask them, maybe in an interview or something like that, to try to determine if they're coachable?
You know, when I'm teaching people my hiring process, we're actually not getting that detailed. Like we're not even looking for specific personality traits. And I don't want to miscommunicate this. Like some people probably worry like, well, is the approach that we just throw everybody at the wall and just see who sticks? Yes and no. We want to give everybody a chance unless there's some very, very obvious reason that they couldn't do the job. Like they can't look you in the eye, they smell like onion rings, or they like have a spider tattoo on their entire face, or like they don't have reliable transportation or something like that. But in terms of, you know, somebody who just is eager, like listens and is hungry and like, you can just kind of tell when somebody's going to be moldable, and you can tell when somebody's just like, don't tell me what to do. Right. Yeah. So I'm not an expert in like personality tests and stuff like that. You know what I mean? But, the thing is, like, we're not worrying again about headhunting and just like hand picking and cherry picking these people. We're bringing people in, and if we bring enough people in and we put them through the system, the training program, the cream is just going to rise to the top, right? So you can even worry less about finding the coachable people. They're the ones that are going to stick because they're coachable.
Yeah, definitely. It's like I don't know, like the NFL combine or something. Like, let's run them all through the races and see who's the fastest and best, and who's going to fit best on the team. Like, let's run the race first. So when do you think business owner, roofing contractors should start kind of thinking about putting the processes in place? Do you think that it needs to be put in place from the inception of the company? Like, hey, we have to have all of these things in place before we, file our LLC? Or is it something that we can gradually adapt along the way?
Ideally, getting it from the jump is the best case scenario, because you're not having to, like, here's what happens. Think of a business like wet cement. And in the beginning, when you're bringing people in, it's very moldable and stuff like that, and you're trying to get stuff squared away. But then over time, pretty quickly, people get ingrained in their own habits or the way they want to do things, or their bad habits or whatever, and the cement hardens. Trying to, like, and I'm not saying it's impossible, but trying to then backtrack and go, okay, well, I know we've been doing it this way, but now we should try to do it this way. That can be a challenge, right? And a lot of companies have to do that because they finally reach out, in year 2 or 3 or 5, and they go, okay, we need help. Like, we're growing to this point. We have more than 5 people, or we want to have more than 3 to 5 people now. And we have to do something different to achieve that. So ideally, from the beginning, it's going to be like the easiest transition to do it that way. But furthermore, I would say, I hear from a lot of contractors when they get to that point where it's like there's the diminishing returns. Like in the beginning, they can do everything themselves because they're only doing maybe 100 jobs a year, and they only have to manage one other guy or whatever. But eventually they're like, they either want to do more or they're getting more business. And it's like, okay, I can't just fly by the seat of my pants anymore. It's just not possible.
I've run across often, we have a few clients on our agency side that are family roofing businesses.
Right.
And it's been dad's roofing business since they were, young. And I just had Andrew Ittenauer on the podcast on the last episode of the podcast. And he does a great job marketing on Instagram. And it's his father's business, right? And his father's like, social media, right? Like, get out of here with this stuff. And so that's a lot of times, a lot of people can find levels of success without, a lot of these, kind of systematizing and things like that. I think that there's a change now in like, it's a new generation coming in with a lot of these companies. And so I don't think you need to be stuck if you are stuck, right? There are a lot of you that may be stuck thinking, how do we get above 750,000 a year, right? Like, that there's some people that have made a living for their whole life off of doing 750 million a year,
right?
As a small company. And then it's like, well, how do we make that into the 2 million, 3 million, $5 million company?
Right.
And I think that a lot of times you have to just open up your mindset, right? And change the way you're thinking about, and you have to want to do it. Not everyone wants the same business, right? You don't have to have the $25 million, roofing company, right? But do you ever want to have a vacation?
I was just going to say, do you ever want to be able to leave the office? Do you ever want to be able to step away? Like, and I love that you just brought that up for me. Like, you don't have to want, like, sometimes I have people who get on the phone with me. They even say, Becca, we don't want to grow too big. We don't want to have 25 people. I'm like, well, that's a choice. Like, you don't have to, and I'm not telling you do, but if you want to have a lifestyle, like if you're in this for a lifestyle business or legacy, and you want to actually be able to enjoy your life, not constantly be in the rat race, like on the treadmill, because if you're not there and you're not pushing everybody, or you're not the one on the computer, you're not the one on the books, you're not ordering the materials, you're not the one that's training the sales guys, run the sales meetings, everything's going to fall apart. Nobody's going to sell a dime. That's a problem. So,
that's right.
If you want to be able to be like, I own a business, not I work in a business, basically like a slave to it, then you have to have ways. Like, again, I think we were talking on the phone the other day, but I used an analogy where I said, look, if you've never I've hired you, okay, and you've never made a cake in your life, and I'm in the kitchen with you and I go, don't worry, I've made 1,000 cakes, just follow what I'm doing. And we're baking here, but then all of a sudden my kid breaks his leg and I need to go to the hospital across town, and I don't know when I'm going to be back. And by the way, we're making cakes because we're running a bakery to make money so that I can pay my mortgage and that you can pay your bills too. And I just bail. You're like, and then guess what you do? Nothing. Or you fail, right? Or you try and you waste a bunch of ingredients, or you piss off some customers or whatever. But if I leave and I go, I'm really sorry, my kid broke my leg, here's the recipe. Just follow it. Super easy. And I leave, then you go, okay. And you might be a little nervous, but you can follow the instructions.
That's right.
The same thing has to happen for sales manager. Here's your job. Production manager. Here's your job. Salespeople. Here's how you do this. And then you should be able to leave and make a phone call and check in. Is everything okay? How's it going? How's that German chocolate cake? I hope you added extra coconut. Like, that's all you have to do.
Exactly. And there is a recipe to everything. And you could think of it in that way, and making sure that you just put the recipes in place. One of my favorite books is Cash Flow Quadrant by Robert Kiyosaki, the Rich Dad, Poor Dad author.
Right.
It's one of his lesser known ones, and I might have mentioned this on the podcast before, but it's a quadrant. So four corners, and E, S, B, and I: employee, self-employed, business owner, and investor. And that's how he kind of breaks down the differences. And that's what a lot of people are. They're an employee is you work for someone, right? And the S quadrant is self-employed. You own it. Your business owns you, essentially. You're the key employee in your business, so you can't, right? Being a business owner is changing that over to being able to, then that's where you allow that scalability, right? In thinking of how can you create those recipes that allow people to do what they need to do without you being in the office. And then of course, I as investor, and that's where, you have made your fortune, and you can now, invest in other companies, whether through time or money or whatever it is. But I love that the concept of that, because people really get stuck in that S quadrant when they are starting their own business, right? They really get stuck as being a self-employed person. What do you think a good first step, someone that's just stuck there? They're like, man, I'm doing everything. I'm at the end of it. I'm 60, 80-hour weeks. What do I do next? What's the first thing I could do?
So the initial thing that comes to mind is, first of all, define what you want to do. Like, what do you want your role to be? What does your ideal situation look? How much are you working? Is it a regular 40-hour week? Is it Monday through Friday? Do you want to have what is your role? Like, some business owners talk to me and they go, Becca, I really just like to teach sales guys. Like, I'd really love to just be doing the sales manager part, but I'm stuck here running materials and talking with the crews and doing that. And I'm on the phone doing the adjuster stuff. So first, define your role. What does that look like? Okay. Then write down, what are all the other roles? Production, administrative, supplementing, sales, whatever. And it's like, write all those things down and define those roles. So you're going to need to put people in place, hire people. I know it's scary. Hire people that are going to be doing those roles. And then here's, again, I know this is a shameless sales plug, but I have no shame in saying it. Instead of just trying to somehow put these recipes, for lack of better terms, in place yourself, I'm telling you right now, whoever you are listening to this, it took me years of 100% of my time and energy building these things that I now sell to the industry. There's no possible way you can run a business, have a life, and do what I did to an effective degree. So make the investment in your business to just get programs that are already working for people. And if you don't like my style, I'm sure there's other people out there that are putting stuff out there, right? But get those programs in place, because yes, it's a chunk of change up front, but now you have it, and now the machine can go. And we have some momentum, we have direction. And now it's really easy then to quantify where you're at, because if things are not going well, then you can identify where they're not going well. When you don't have a system or process, it's just like something's wrong, but we don't know what, right?
And so the processes are there too. There are people like you and others in the industry. There's a lot of really good content out there that really, business in a box almost type of stuff, the way that your stuff is put together, and some of the other people out there. It's pretty amazing that, you don't have to do it yourself. You don't have to invent everything. I think a lot of business owners get stuck trying to invent something.
Yes.
Right? They get stuck in, they want to invent something new and unique when there's already something that works.
Or they think, well, it's everything I need to tell them is already up here. So I don't need to pay for anything because it's just all up here. So I just need to take the time to finally sit down and do it. What do you think you're going to do it over a holiday weekend, like Labor Day? You're going to go, I'll take 3 days. Good luck. Like, it's not that simple. So instead of that, and also I would encourage people to understand that, and I'm not, I think that the people that believe that they know everything are giving themselves a little bit too much credit sometimes,
for sure.
Right? We all can do that sometimes. And so you might think that everything makes sense in your head, but then you realize when you try to disseminate that information to other people, it isn't quite adding up. It's not translating, and you're not going to get the results that you need. So again, that's why I'd really encourage you to just time is money. So you don't have the time, if you're a business owner already kind of on the struggle bus or juggling a bunch of stuff, you don't have the time to put together something that's actually going to work really, really well. So just invest in something that already exists because it's turnkey. You can keep moving.
And another thing that we like to do in our business, my businesses is phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, right? Phase 1 is execute, right? Execute on something, whatever that first phase may be. So that first phase may be buying a course, executing on that, using it. And then after you go through the process of it, you may go, oh, well, we want to tweak it this way for our company culture. We want to make these little adjustments here, or so at least you start with the foundation.
Yes.
There's a great quote, I think it was from Picasso. It's good artists copy, great artists steal.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, just take what's out there, right? Steal it. It's almost stealing for, you know what I mean? Like, you could just take what's already there and then make your own out of it. So you don't have to start with the starting point. You don't have to invent everything. You don't have to come up with something new to the industry. There's a lot of great coaches and consultants in the industry already, you being one of them, that can help you as a business owner get to that next level.
Well, and Jim, that's exactly what I did. Because I did Cutco cutlery before this, right?
And so Cutco is legit sales training. Like, if you can sell thousands of dollars of knives door to door, like, that's not a product that easily sells itself, right? That's harder than a Kirby vacuum. Like,
right. Like, and it's an amazing product, right? And that's hard sale. That's why I always make the joke. I go, roof sales is a breeze.
That's right. Yeah.
Knife sales, right? $2,000 sets of knives on like an 18, 19-year-old kid. It's like, right? The reason I bring that up is because for Roof Sales Mastery, like, creating that, some of the programs in there are like, I literally took what we used to do in Cutco. Like, I took those training systems when I was an assistant manager at the time after I was selling knives for a little while. So I took those and I'm like, these already have been working for literally decades. So how can I take these and just turn them into a roof sales model? So I already did that too. Like, that's why I just 1,000% am on board with innovation versus invention, right?
Yeah, definitely. And that's what you were able. Yeah, that's exactly what you were able to do. And that's probably how you kind of found success early in the roofing business, instead of just, hey, I think you were told, just get in the truck and follow someone around for a while, but you had a base of experience that would allow you to disseminate what was happening at that front door, right? And at that kitchen table, and go, I might have said something different there, or maybe I would have tweaked this or that because of your sales training with Cutco, I'm assuming.
Yeah, like, so Cutco isn't actually door to door. It's all referral based. So like, every time I did an appointment with somebody, I had to like get them to give me names and numbers.
Give you names. Yep.
Them, right? Which that's hard too. It's like, hey, will you stick me on your friends and family, right? And so there were parts. It was interesting because we always like to say sales is sales. Like, if you can sell, cars, and you can sell paper clips or pies or whatever, but roof sales is kind of a horse of a different color, just because there's so many moving pieces. Yes. You've got insurance and the adjuster and like different competition. You get 10 other people knocking down the same door and stuff like that. So I was really fortunate that the person that recruited me, although I was not formally trained, I was a sponge. Like, he was an incredible salesperson. So I just would listen, and then I would take what I liked from what he would say, and then I would just kind of turn it into something that made more sense to me. So
definitely. And, in our conversation about scaling, you don't have to become like Power, you know what I mean? $1 billion, business, right? Your scale, you could be scaling from 500,000 to 2.5 or 5 million. But what I want to, is just getting across is that you become a business owner, right? And I think a lot of people that listen to the podcast, that's what they're striving to be. They're striving to really be a business owner, not to make the most money or to, but having that, and you can have your own, a specific lifestyle from it. And I know that's what you do, with your own personal life, right? So, if you follow Becca on Instagram or any social media channel, she's always out hiking and, you know, doing all these things. So you can put things in place in your business that to allow you to but you have to first understand with your mindset, where do you want to be? What do you want to have in your out of your business? That's an interesting thing that people don't really think about a lot, right? They won't take that self-reflection to think, what do I really want as a business? And, you know, there's guys, I know we had Eric Reno on not long ago, who, you know, he kind of sticks in that $5 million range in his roofing business and doesn't try to hire, you know, a ton of salespeople and grow, because he's more focused on his profitability per year, right? His net profit versus the size of his business. So find out what you're looking for in your business, figure out your whys, right? Figure out what you really want and why you want it, and execute to get it that way. I think that you have a lot of insight into mindset and those whys. What would you tell people, you know, how did you come up, I guess, how did you shape your life into what, you know, the path that you've executed on, and what drives you to do this on a day-to-day basis?
You know, I would have to revert back to when I really began my sales journey in general, which was when I was 19 and I dropped out of college because I was selling Cutco. I went to college and I think I was studying like journalism and mass communication or something, because the only thing I really knew I liked to do was write. So I'm like, I'll just figure out something I can do with that, which I still love to write, and I get to do it with sales copy and stuff like that now with Roof Sales Mastery. But what really got me going, I think, in the beginning was somebody really believed in me, which was my former husband at the time. He was actually my Cutco manager, and I really thrive off of, like, I love being a top performer, and I don't like to lose. I like to be number one. And when people really believed in me or like pushed me or like gave me a lot of positive feedback, I'm super motivated by that. So for the first couple of years doing Cutco, it was really just like somebody was proud of me, and I was also making a ton of money, and I like to be a top performer. And so like that kept me going to the beginning. As it got into the Roof Sales Mastery stuff, like, or even the roof sales before Roof Sales Mastery, to be honest, I was kind of thrust into like sink or swim here, because we quit Cutco and got recruited to do this roof sales stuff. And we literally sold all of our stuff, got rid of our apartment, and moved out to the East Coast with a Rubbermaid full of belongings. And there was no plan B. There was no backup plan, right? So it was like, you have to figure this out. So that was almost necessity, which I'm also driven by, like, well, I have to perform now. Like, we can't fail, we'll fall flat on our face. And then from there, when it came to the Roof Sales Mastery stuff, I was really driven by my own belief in the value that I was going to be providing, because I knew I'd figured out some truly game-changing stuff for supplementing, for helping business owners train their salespeople. Like, I knew there was a massive need there. But big picture, honestly, I'm driven by having the personal and financial freedom to do whatever I want, whenever I want, with whoever I want. And so that's what really drives me. Like, it's really more about the freedom to be able to do everything. So it's like, money's great. Money's really freedom. And I like to be able to sleep till whenever I want to sleep. And if I only want to work 40 minutes this week, then I want to be able to do that too. And that's really what drives me, is freedom.
Nice. Yeah. And that's a big thing. And that, I like what you said about money. It just allows you to do some of the things that you enjoy doing. I always believe that if you have faith in the outcome, you'll execute, right? So when you had faith in the product that you put together with Roof Sales Mastery, it's like, now I want to do this every day, right? I want to get out there every day. If you have faith in the outcome of what you're doing, if you have faith in that, if you go and execute every day on your roofing business, that you will have, you know, the lifestyle that you want, or the business that you want, or the freedom that you want, you're going to go out there and execute. So it's I think eliminating any obstacles that are in your way is going to also help you with the scalability of your roofing business.
Right.
Well, Becca, why don't you tell everyone how they could get a hold of you? I know you have some cool speaking gigs coming up this year.
Right.
You have, of course, you have the courses. You're on all the social media platforms. Where can people get a hold of you?
So you can visit obviously my website, which is www.roofsalesmastery.com. You can check out my Instagram, which is just at Roof Sales Mastery. You can also check me out on Facebook, which is Roof Sales Mastery. And there's 6 different programs. So if you need like a turnkey recruiting system or sales training or supplementing Xactimate training, I've got 6 different programs for that available on the website. You can literally just enroll right there. And then I am speaking at a couple events coming up here this fall and winter. I would love to see people there. I'm going to be a guest speaker and a sales panelist at RoofCon, which is in Houston, Texas, October 15th through the 17th. And that, if you go to roofcon.com, you can get tickets there, and you can actually save 10% if you use promo code SWITZ, SWITZ. And I think they have group rates available too. So if it's like a business owner wanting to bring multiple salesmen or whatever. And then I'm also going to be a keynote speaker at a Roofing Process Conference in Orlando, Florida, December 3rd and 4th. That's Dimitri Lipinski. If anybody follows him on Roofing Insights, that's his conference. So I'm going to be speaking there. Same thing. You can go to, I believe it's just roofconference.com for tickets there, but you can use a promo code SWITZ for 10% off tickets there as well. So awesome. Come see me. I'll be the one with the purple hair being loud.
Great. This has been another episode of the Roofing Success Podcast. If you would like to generate more sales through your digital marketing efforts, please visit roofermarketers.com and get a copy of the book, Internet Marketing for Roofing Contractors, How to Triple Your Sales and Turn Your Roofing Website into an Online Lead Generation Machine. Also, check the training section of the website for guides on everything from running effective pay-per-click ads to how to properly set up your Google My Business listing. This has been another episode of the Roofing Success Podcast. Thanks for listening.